Oh, dude, the stream is so low quality though. Oh no, it's not. All right. Let's see. Audio's working. What's up, Calgary? I'm about to plug my computer in, and then you'll see stuff on the screen. Boop. All right. Let's see, could I get a count here in Vancouver? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Will's coming, so that makes 6. That means we're missing 2 people? Just Andy, 1 person. Andy, I can't believe it. Wait, is Andy here, but just... Is that his stuff? Oh, his stuff's always here.
Yeah, he just leaves it.
All right, well, I mean, we'll start... Oh, there's Andy. There we go. Summoned. No problem. And let's see, could I get any verification from Calgary? You're on the line. Are you there? Somebody give me like a thumbs up, a hello. Maybe tell me how you're doing. Let's see, you could tell me a joke, pick a GIF. Tell me what your favorite thing about living in Calgary is. Oh, nope. Hey, oh, wait, we got Kanye. Okay, all right. Now, I don't know if, wait, do you know this already? Did I tell you that like most of my lectures are Kanye themed? I did. My life is just a haze. It's just, yeah, it's just a massive haze. It's Kanye, bikes, and it's today it's gonna be Dungeons and Dragons. This is what we're gonna be working with. A little bit of nerd stuff. Welcome, welcome. It is, I don't know, what day is it? It is week 4. What is nuts? Week 4. You know, if you'd taken the program 3 years ago, right now you would be halfway through the program. But you're only a third of the way through the program because we've made the program longer. So I don't know if that makes you feel, no. One thing turned off. Okay, stay on. I don't know if that makes you feel any better, but I mean, congrats, week 4. That's pretty far in. Not only is it week 4, it's week 4, day 2. Week 4, day 2. You're doing something particularly exciting today. I believe that today is one of the wildest just possible lectures. This is going to be I don't know. I have a good time with it. We're doing specifically, what are we doing today, Jared? Front-end JavaScript. Doing a little bit of front-end JavaScript. Not a lot of people know this. JavaScript, the J is silent. And when you go interview, tell them that you're proficient in JavaScript. Yeah, exactly. Oh no, another person who studied under Nima's supervision, the infamous Nima. And what we're also going to play around with a little bit is a little bit of, what's this thing? Huh? A query? Somebody said jQuery. Wrong. Real programmers actually call this jQuery. So jQuery, and then if you're feeling extra fancy, it's a McQuery. That's what we're going to be working with. That joke never lands, not a single time.
I didn't know it was a joke.
No, it's really just jQuery. And then so we're going to play around with a little bit of front-end JavaScript, and then a little bit of jQuery. Please don't call it jQuery in your interviews, or do. I mean, you'll seem eccentric. Wow, all right, making waves. So we're going to be working with JavaScript, and we're going to be working with jQuery. And specifically, you're doing stuff on the front end of websites. Let me go over to Compass real quick. Boop, and boop. All right, so here are basically the topics that we're going to take a look at. We're going to take a look at the DOM. We're going to look at events. We're going to look at the window. These are all things that we're going to talk about. And well, you know that the way this lecture is going to work is the first half of the lecture is very much just I'm showing off cool things. Like the first half of the lecture is kind of like if you see, you know, we're just going to do like this is the first half of the lecture. It's like, whoa, can you really do that? Oh man, you did that with how many lines of code? Whoa! Like that's the first half of today's lecture. And then the second half of today's lecture, we're going to be working with jQuery and like actually building up a little project. But that's the entire first half. Okay, so if there's anything, what? Travis is just watching. If there's anything in the first little bit where you're like, whoa, I don't know if I could ever do that, that's because I'm trying to like show off a little bit. Whoa. So kind of keep that in mind. All right. Should we just dive right into it? Okay. Question number 1. I always like to start off my lectures with a little bit of review. Question number 1. How are you doing? How's how is post Tiny App?
It's good to have that out of the way.
It's good to have it out of the way. Yeah, Tiny App is such a fun project to work on. Can you put up your hand if you loved rewriting your cookie stuff? Yeah. All right, you actually liked it. That's cool. You didn't love it? Yeah. I mean, you disliked it so much that you made me check your thing.
Yeah.
You're like, I don't want to go through. I've been there, man. Tiny App's got people like, I've done my time. Like, I'm not going back. I did the first 3 weeks of the program. All right, so Tiny App is over. That's all good. We're in Tweeter now. And in both of these projects, you're working with JavaScript. And I want us to talk a little, like, lightly about what JavaScript is, right? What is JavaScript? And what is it for? Chai, what's JavaScript? Sure. Set of instructions. All right. What else? Andy, what is JavaScript?
It's a way to execute code in the browser.
There you go. It's a way to just making sure that it's streaming from Calgary too. Yeah. It's a way to execute code, and then you've added in the browser. Absolutely. Have you used JavaScript very much in the browser so far? Just a little bit. What did you mostly use it in? Hmm?
So we took the what was it? What's the no, when you do the percent signs, the brackets. Modulo. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, the EJS stuff. Absolutely. So Andy says we've used EJS. Sure. There's also somewhere else that you've worked with JavaScript a lot. Like a lot. Yeah, Node, right? Node.js, that's JavaScript, right? So JavaScript can be used in all kinds of places. JavaScript can be used in all kinds of places. We could use it in the browser. We could use it as a server-side language. You can use JavaScript for like, I don't know, Arduino. You can do, I'm pretty sure there's, controlling Arduino with the JavaScript library, with like some JavaScript library. So we can go see somebody writes some code, and that's JavaScript. JavaScript is doing that. Right? Look at that. JavaScript. What? You can use JavaScript for anything because JavaScript is a script is a programming language. That's it. It's a programming language. Now, what can it be used for? Well, most of the time it tends to be used either server-side through Node.js or on the front end because it's embedded in browsers. Right? But really, it's a language. Right? And what do we use languages for? Right, so languages are used for communication, right? We can communicate. And now we can use language to be like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? Why don't you ever message me back? Like, those are all things that, I might use language for. You can also use language to tell people stuff. Give me the money, right? Like, that's a thing that you can say. I don't know, like, clap your hands. Those are all different things that we might be able to communicate with a language, right? I'm using English in this case, but a programming language can be used to communicate between one actor and another, namely a programmer and maybe a machine or a program, to tell it to do stuff, right? We might tell something to turn on or turn off, or in this case here, somebody's using a language to say, make the little motor spin, right? Run it. There you go, make the little motor spin. Right? If you can dream it as a thing that can be commanded, you can probably express it with a programming language. Right? You're going to find that once you finish this program, like JavaScript, you'll also know Ruby, but you'll also be ready to take on any number of programming languages, right? Because most useful programming languages are built around specific constructs. Like, every programming language is going to have a way for you to make decisions, right? For you to do things X number of times, right? For you to encapsulate functionality. So if you have like a bunch of different actions, you'll be able to wrap them up, right? JavaScript calls these functions, right? Every programming language will give you the ability to do stuff like this, right? Make decisions, do things X number of times. Sometimes things like keep a list, right? Useful stuff that we might want to command someone to do. Now, when we're working with a language, the most interesting part of working with the language isn't, to me, often the language itself. It's what we're using the language for. Right? So far, you've used JavaScript to do things like making a server, right? Making a server with JavaScript, which has included saying things like, every time someone makes a request, right? Every time somebody makes a request, and run this code, right? Which was, for you, done through things like callbacks, right? Function calls, right? Does that keep turning off and on, like regularly? That is rough. All right, function calls, and you also made use of things like objects and stuff like that, right? But at the end of the day, you were leveraging a language to be able to say, every time someone makes a request, run X code. Right? Now, this programming language, as long as there's somebody listening, as long as there's somebody who can interpret that code, right, then you can interact with something. Right? So let me put it this way. If I was out in the woods and I just shout out, like, I want a smoothie. Like, I just yell that out in the middle of the woods, I'm not going to achieve anything. But if I go to the proper place where smoothies are served and I go, I want a smoothie, then I might receive a smoothie. Right? The context is important. So making a server with JavaScript, in this case here, it wasn't just we were writing a bunch of JavaScript, but we were specifically running in Node.js, which gives us access to particular things. And we have brought in a library called Express, right, which allowed us to do this stuff. Conceivably, this thing here, right, using JavaScript to make a little motor turn around, right, probably not built with Express, right? Probably built in a way that allows the JavaScript to flow, flow out of the little wires and make things work. There's got to be somebody who interprets the code that's being run, right? To then translate that code that you've run into like actions that actually happen. So technically, anything can run a programming language. If you've got something that can interpret it, like I could use a programming language to tell you to do things. I could use a programming language to turn the lights on or off in a loop. I could use a programming language to move my car or whatever. I've just got to have something that interprets it. That brings us to the browser. So the browser is a particularly interesting piece of software because originally the browser was really just meant to navigate the internet. Right? All that the browser could do was load up HTML pages and style them with the CSS. Right? So you got HTML pages and then just make them look pretty. Now, the more people worked with the browser, the more people made websites. People came up with the idea of, well, it would be cool to have maybe some interaction, right? Some interaction available with websites. So they decided to embed a programming language into the browser. Embedded a little program that you could talk to that would let you manipulate things on the page. Now, the language that was built for that was JavaScript. JavaScript came directly out of having to embed a programming language into the browser. Right? So JavaScript's going to be very, very good for working with web pages. Right? Other languages may not be as well suited. Right? By inverse, I guess, JavaScript might not be great for a lot of other things because it was by design made for the browser. And that's what we're going to explore today. We can, at any point, so I'm going to go to just a new tab, and I'm going to open up the inspector. And I'm going to spend some good amount of time here in the inspector today. Console. I can, at any point, pop the little console up, right, and start playing around with the JavaScript that can interact with a page. At this moment here, I haven't loaded up a page yet. Right? We're just going to start off by 1+1, cool, console.log, hello, right? You've seen all this stuff already. Where things get really interesting with JavaScript in the browser is that not only do I have access to all the usual constructs that JavaScript gives me, such as making consts or for loops, like all that usual stuff, an if statement. What I also have access to is particular variables, right? Particular variables that I might not have access to when I'm working in Node. So I'm going to open up Node here. I'm going to have this running for a second. And over on this side, I'm going to do one thing. I'm going to go W. What? What? I'm going to open up W. How are people doing? How's stuff? Oh my God. It's not coming back this time. Hey, yo, Travis, can I borrow your laptop? That's a real question. It's not the dongle. It's like straight up my laptop. Yeah. Good game. All right. Good thing we haven't written a ton of code yet. You want to use my laptop? Nah. Sweet. Thanks, dude. All right. Look at that. Magical. It just works. Yeah, let's inspect his code. Let's see what Travis do. Huh? You didn't save? Should we close it? No, I saved it for you, man. I'm just going to turn on the accessibility zoom real quick. Huh? No, it was. Is yours not on control? On command. I can't believe this. Command. All right. No, fair enough. All right. So what we're going to do here is, where's your dock? Where do you keep your dock, dude? Where do you keep your, oh, it's at the bottom? Takes a little while to pop up, eh? What? Okay. All right. We're just going to open up a little guest page. And open up a little guest window. All right. So what I was saying was I wanted to show you Node. So I've got Node open here. Again, 1+1 or whatever. And then over in the browser, I might Just not used to it. No, stop. All right, just getting used to this new screen setup. And there we go. All right, so over in this new situation here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to have the console open. And the last thing I did before the computer cut off was I went W and I went, what? What is WebKit cancel animation frame? What is weak map? What is wheel event? What is a password credential? Picture in picture window. These are all things that I did not make. Okay? But apparently, if I go shadow root, I don't know what shadow root is, but it sounds pretty edgy. It sounds like some Sonic the Hedgehog stuff. Shadow root. If I go over to my node and I go shadow root is not defined. All right, fine. Shadow root is not defined. I go document is apparently a thing. Okay, it did not throw an error. But if I go in node and I go document, it throws an error. Right? So even though I'm running JavaScript in both situations, I have access to completely different things because I'm running in different contexts. Right? I have access to whatever process is when I'm working in Node. Right? And I could go and find out what is process. But if I typed out process in the browser, I get an error. Right? So there's a difference between what's built into JavaScript and what's built into the context that we're working in. Right? So the stuff that is built into the browser, for the most part, is going to give us the ability to actually interact with the browser. Right? Literally, pretty much anything that you can imagine yourself doing with a browser. So if I was to go to wikipedia.com, it's .org, cool. Well, wait, so they own wikipedia.com, but they redirect to, OK, all right, that's cool. All right, so here's a web page, wikipedia.org. What are some things that you might want to do with this page? As a user, like what can you see yourself doing? You might search for stuff, right? What else? You might navigate. What does navigating mean? Cool. So I see different things, and then do I do anything with them? I might click on them, right? I might click on them, and we can try to do all that stuff with code, right? I might usually do that stuff with the little cursor. But I'm going to play around with code today. And here's the way we're going to do it. I'm going to dock this. All right. So on one end of the screen, I have my little console, and on the other side, I have the browser window. Now, the first thing that client-side JavaScript might give me is, or that I might want to explore, is this thing called document. Right? We're going to explore a lot of these globals, right? A lot of these preset variables. As soon as I write out document, what do you see happen? The page is selected. And in fact, when I hover over this here, the output of document, the entire page is selected. Right? So document apparently means the entire page. And I could do this. Boop. And what do I see? It's all of the pages HTML. Right? So we might be using JavaScript to play around with the actual page. Here's one really fun thing that I could even start off doing. Window. Right? What do you think window is? Yeah, window is going to be like the browser. It's actually going to be the tab, right? The tab itself. So this thing here is going to be one window. There is a command called window.close, but we can only close windows that were opened by a particular script. We'll find out exactly what that means as we go forward. My favorite thing to do with client-side JavaScript is press a single letter and explore the things that are in here. Right? G. gamepad. You can hook up like a DualShock, like a PlayStation controller, to the browser. You can move stuff around with it. It's gamepad. Right? Here's another one. We're gonna do Bluetooth. You can do Bluetooth stuff with the browser. Right? Do I know how to do it? Maybe not right now, but I could look up documentation and figure it out. Right? We're gonna do. Wait, what is Geo? What? 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 Geo. Apparently, I already know my latitude and longitude.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way to simplify the.
Oh yeah. Just, Geo. What? Did you know that you can get the battery? Like the battery level of your computer? So you're gonna look up battery and then MDN, and there's a battery status API, which will tell us what the battery is like. Now they say it's what do you call it? Deprecated, but it's really just not recommended. You can still try to use it, and it'll print out. When you go Navigator get battery, so let me just do that. So Navigator get battery, and then with the battery, I'm just gonna make them console.log the battery. Right, so whatever it gets, and now it's printed it out. And here's my battery. Charging, true. Discharging time, infinity. Level, 0.69. And I could even look at this and see that, yeah, I'm not complete. In fact, I was at 69. Right? And if I was to unplug from charging, when I run this after a second, it shows me, you need to run it like a couple times before it realizes. All right, it hasn't realized yet, but eventually it will say charging false. Unless, can they charge through these? Let's try. No. I think it just takes a little while. There we go, charging false. It just takes a little while to update. Right? So, charging false. All kinds of stuff that we can do. Now, I'm going to hop into playing around with the web page. The way I'm going to do that is play around with this document. Document gives me access to a bunch of stuff inside of it. If I go dot, right, and I could dig around in here and find out, ooh, document dot create event, document dot link color, document dot on drop, all kinds of stuff. I'm going to document dot query selector. Okay. What is document dot query selector? It selects an element, but specifically it's a function, right? It's a function that receives something that tells it how to select a particular element. So I might go document query selector, and then I want to select an H1. And now what I get back is an H1, and if I was to take a look at this page, this H1 here is the part that says main page, which is where does it say main page, eh? This one here. But that's an H1? This one? It feels like an odd choice for an H1, eh? No. Weird. Well, if we go to a particular article, so we'll do random article. Think I'm in love, Beck song. We'll do another one. Oh, I know. We'll do dog. Huh? Kanye? We could. Well, you know what? We'll do Drake. Yeah, we'll do Kanye, yeah. Cool. So we got Kanye, West. When I do document query selector H1, the reason I've moved here just because in Wikipedia it's very obvious what the H1 is. And it's also very obvious what the selector, what the H2s are, by the way. as well. So where'd you go? There we go. So that's an H2, right? And there's going to be other H's. So this one here, for example, is going to be an H3. Now, if I go document query selector H1, this is output. What can I do with the output of a function? If I want to use it later, what do I do? I can stick it in a variable. So const H1 equals document.querySelector document.querySelector H1. Right? And now I have access to this H1 anytime I want by just going H1. I can check to see what's inside of a particular document node. H1 dot. And there's all kinds of stuff. I have no idea what draggable is. H1.draggable is false. So H1 is some kind of object. H1 dot blur. All this kind of stuff. It's got stuff inside of it. Among the stuff that it has is inner text. My H1.inner text is apparently a string that is Kanye West. If this is a property of an object, what can I do with properties of objects? I can change them. So I could go H1.inner text equals Nima Boscarino. Wham! I am now in the page, right? I've always wanted my own Wikipedia article, right? And I specifically like just this part here, Nima Boscarino redirected from Kanye. That makes me feel very good. Now I really want to find out h1.draggable equals true. Is that a thing I can do? Oh, because now I can move out that stuff? That's weird. Huh, okay. And if I did false? Okay, neat. All right. Did not know that that was the thing that you could do. Undraggable true. All right. So there's all kinds of stuff that I can play with. Now, I might start asking myself questions such as, how many different subsections of this article are there? Right. And if I go ahead and I find out that this here is an H2 with a span inside of it, right? I might go, all right, well, document.querySelector, right? Selector. And I want to find H2 and then the span inside of that, right? H2 and span. And now I have that thing that says early life. Now, my question here is, how many results did I get with this? One. But how many are there on the page? There's more than one. Why did I only get one? Yeah, so query selector is only going to return the very first one that matches. But there is a query selector all. Right? Find me all of them. And I got back a list of stuff. Right? This is called apparently a node list. A node list is not necessarily an array. So I won't be able to get all of them and then map. I can't do that. But what I can do is I do have access to for each. So I might start just writing a little bit of fun code here. I'll go const h2s. So all the h2s are, I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. All the h2s are document.querySelector all, and then we said it was h2 and then span. Right? And maybe h2s dot for each. I want to go through each h2. So given an h2, or like an element or whatever, I know that there's spans, but still. Maybe I want to do something like console.log the h2.inner text, or inner HTML. Right? And when I run this now, you got a bunch of undefineds because it wasn't inner text. What was it called? No, it wasn't inner HTML. It was inner text. Never double guess yourself. There we go. So my code here is loop through all of my h2s, and console log for each one of them the inner text. And now what I have is with a couple simple lines. When I say simple, I mean there isn't a ton of work that goes into it. Right? We're saying grab the elements, loop through them. Now I have every little subsection that makes up Kanye West's article.
So is node list like a custom object
Yeah, so a node list is going to be a kind of,
prototype?
yeah, it's going to be similar to an array, right, but specifically created to be able to hold DOM elements. Right? So it's a special kind of array, if we want to call it that. Like I'll be able to do things like h2 and find me the first one. Like that's a thing that I can do. But some other things that arrays let us do, like map, it won't have access to. Right? That's really it. It's like a lightweight array that's really just built for holding node elements. I could, if I wanted to, look up how to translate a node list into an array. Now, among the things that I might want to do is, as I'm looping through all of these, rather than just console logging the inner text, I might want to change the inner text. So I might go h2.innerText, right, equals, equals Nima Vascarino. And now I'm going to find that when I run this, every single subsection has been changed to, where'd you go? To Nima Vascarino. One powerful line of code. I could do even more. I could say, change every p tag to my name, and change every image to my name, and change every article to my name. Yeah, then update the server, yeah. What we do find, though, is that's a good point. When I refresh my page, all the changes that I had made, they're gone. Because I just made changes client side. The stuff isn't permanent. So one of the most useful things, then, as we see, working with JavaScript in the front end is changing stuff on the DOM. Right? All I've done right now is I've maybe edited a couple things, but I could add stuff too. I can document.create element. Right? And this will create a new element, create a new h2 element. Now, this h2 element, it's nowhere on the page right now. Right? This h2 element just exists in JavaScript. But I can append this element to the page, maybe. I'm going to do this in 2 lines. I'm going to go const new element equals, and then document.create element. And then I'm going to say, OK, well, my new element, it's going to have the inner text, what up? So if I looked at my new element in JavaScript, it has h2 with what up. Again, on the page, there isn't a single result for what up. Not a single result. Until I might go document.append. And I'll be able to append any new any element, such as this new one here. And if I scroll all the way down to the thing here, whoops. We're going to go document.body. So I'm appending this not to the document, but rather to the body inside of the document. And we'll talk about what that means in a second. Now I got a what up? Right, what up? Now, we can create elements, we can append them, we can delete them. You can, I think if you have a new element, I think you might be able to like drop element or something like that. But we could always just look that up, like drop element from DOM. And there's going to be a remove function, apparently. Right? What I want you to kind of start seeing is that as you're working with client-side JavaScript, most of your job is going to be in Googling stuff. Right? Not that that's not a thing you haven't learned in the past couple weeks, but with the browser, like it very much is that nobody's going to know what a USB device thing does right off the bat. Or nobody's going to know what a, let's do V. Nobody's going to know what a visual viewport is. Or a WebGL renderer buffer. I have no idea. But I can Google it and start finding out. So I want you to start thinking about maybe the weird things that you can do with browsers that maybe you don't like immediately think about all the time, such as working with a gamepad, or working with Bluetooth, or working with speech synthesis. So you can, if you look up speech synthesis in the MDN, you can make, I think is this a thing that Travis did for your group yet? No? Okay, he did it for the other cohort. Or like in a couple weeks you'll see it. But you can create stuff that like speaks out loud, and it's kind of really bizarre. We're going to do it this way. We're going to go new speech synthesis utterance. You know, we'll just copy all this code. Let's just see what happens.
Especially the demo.
Yeah, a little demo. Where? Oh, speech synthesizer demo. There we go. Oh, they make us run the thing. Speech synthesis W3 schools. Let's see if they have an example. Okay, well, it would be nice if they had like a little example. I might build something over the, like while we take a break, because it's pretty weird to kind of see your thing just start talking at you. And it doesn't actually take a lot of code. I've just got code saved on my machine, and this is Travis's computer. So one of the other things that we might do with JavaScript is, like, as we said earlier, we might want to click on stuff with our mouse. You can get JavaScript to do that. Say I wanted to click on this random article button. We could find out what the random article selector is. So it looks like there's an li with the ID n random page, and then an a tag inside of it. So in my console, like, I could find const random link to be document.query selector, and I'm trying to find the li with the ID n random page. So n dash random page, cool. So I'm trying to find something with the ID n dash random page. And then within that, I'm actually trying to find the a tag. And when I look at random link, like, I found the right a tag. I go random link dot click. Apparently that's a function. So I could go random link dot click. Boop. Now we're at the article for roommate. Now I have to load up random link again. And if I go random link dot click, Pearl Dawson, New Zealand veterinarian, hockey, and cricket player. Yeah, there you go. Do one more. Boop. And so I have something that Miss South Carolina team. All right. So I have all these different things that I can do now. What we're going to do is we're going to set ourselves a little goal to kind of end this first half of it, where we've just been working with client-side JavaScript, vanilla as it is. There's a lot that we can do with it, but I'm trying to not to show you too much because we're mostly going to be playing around with jQuery. But the one last thing that I am going to do is I'm going to say window.open to a particular URL. So HTTP. We're going to go this person does not exist.com. And it opens up a new window. What? With a person's face. Oh my god. So, you know what's really bizarre is there is this there's this website where every time you refresh it shows you like a new face. They're all fake. None of these people are real. These are all fake people. It's funny, sometimes you look at some of these faces and you're like, I could be this person's friend. Yeah. And then you think about it a bit more, you're like, oh, they're not. Yeah, they're not real. Right? If you like really check maybe the edges, they like shimmer a little bit. Right? What's really weird is when you find one that looks like you. Like that is hard. Am I real?
Oh, the one on the right is not.
Oh yeah, the one on the right has been like just a little extra makeup is what that looks like. What? What? Looks like a total real person. I don't know what you're talking. Yeah. So this person does not exist. Now, what's really funny is I like how we went way off what I was trying to show, which was when you run window.open, it'll open up a new window. Right? Now, there's also this cat does not exist, which is a lot less successful than the people. It's pretty good, but then some of them just look slightly off. Yeah. Aw, so cute. So cute. So we can open up little windows and we can run code inside of them and all that. So if I did window.open, yeah, window.open, like I would be able to run code and stuff inside. Now, I wanted to show you window.open because I wanted to do something kind of funny, which is I wanted to say that when I click on the page, something should happen. And I thought it would be funny to make something happen to the window when you click. So, yeah? Calgary is a question? Oh, fire drill. Absolute, Casey. Yeah, I'll see y'all in how about y'all let me know when you're back on? We'll take a break right here. 28 floors, man. All right. Have fun. We'll take a break right now. Yeah. All right. All right. What's up? All right. So welcome back. When we had kind of left off, it's just such a friendly dog, so friendly. When we had left off, what we'd been doing was kind of just playing around in the browser, and there was one more thing that I wanted to show you. Basically, it's that like all of these commands that I've written in the console, they don't have to be in the console. Right? In fact, I might want some of this stuff to run when my page loads. Right? So I might want to take all this stuff and write it in a script and attach it to a page. So we're going to go through that process really quickly in vanilla JavaScript, and then we're going to make a switch over to jQuery. Right? And I'll talk about what jQuery is. I know you've like already started reading about it, but we'll kind of go deeper into it. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to have a file open. So we'll go code. Boop. OK. So here is my editor. I'm going to make a new folder. We're going to call this client-side.js. And in the client-side.js folder, I'm going to make a file called index.html. You can call it anything you want. It doesn't really matter. Say HTML. Now, I'm going to use something that like auto-generates a page for me, just because I'm lazy and I don't want to write this stuff. So I've got this HTML page here with maybe an H1 that says, hey, yo, what up? And it should come to nobody's surprise that when I open up this page, I see, hey, yo, what up? Like, that should not be a surprise. But I can write a script tag in here, and I can write literally any JavaScript that I want. Console.log, hello world. Right? And when I open up the inspector and I check the console, when I refresh my page, I get hello world in there. Right? I can write anything. I could write hello world a billion times. When I refresh my page, all that code runs. So the way the browser is going to interpret an HTML page is it's going to start from the top, and it's going to start loading stuff in. And then when it gets to a script tag, it'll start running all this JavaScript. So I could do things like that document.query selector for an H1 maybe, right? Which I know exists. It's that hey, what up? And something I might do is take the H1, change its inner text to say blah, blah, blah. Right? These are exactly the same lines that I was writing in the console earlier. I've just written them in a script somewhere. So when I refresh this page, I don't see the hey, yo, what up. I see blah, 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 blah. Because that JavaScript is running. Now, I can write this stuff in a script like this, a script tag. Or, since these scripts are usually going to get pretty long, what people tend to do is they make a file. They might call it script.js, right? Where they will write all of their JavaScript into. So instead of me writing my stuff in line here, what I might do is I might say, OK, script. And then I might say source and say that use that particular script. So it's as if I'd written it in there, but I've just written it in a separate file, and I'm importing it here. And I'm like including it. Now when I refresh my page, again, I'm going to see, you even see a flicker because for a second it says, hey, yo, what up? And then it snaps in because of that JavaScript that I wrote. Now, I might want to control when this happens. Like, for example, I might do set timeout. And what does set timeout do? Have you all seen set timeout before? Yeah. What does it do? It runs a timer and then it executes the code. So I might say maybe wait 2 seconds and then do this. Right? When I refresh my page, I see hey, yo, what up for 2 seconds, and then it turns into blah, 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 blah. Right? I can do all kinds of stuff. Maybe alert, woo. And I refresh, and after 2 seconds, it says woo. Apparently, alert is a thing I can do with JavaScript, right? Kind of look it up. Blah, 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 blah. So I can get creative with the stuff in here. Maybe instead of doing a set timeout, I want to control, we're going to write this out as a comment first. I'm going to say, when someone clicks on the page, right? Then change the text. How do I say when somebody clicks on the page? Maybe something like on click, right? And this is going to look similar to like when we were writing middleware. What we're doing here is we're adding an event listener. We're going to say to the body of the page, maybe, when somebody clicks it, on abort, on click, it, then maybe here's a bunch of stuff that I want you to do. I'm not used to Travis's like autocomplete stuff. So on click, maybe do stuff like alert, hello. And now if I was to look at the page, oh, actually I got an error, which is nice. On click. This is supposed to be on click equals, and then it's given stuff. Try. There we go. If I was to look at the page, and I see this is the whole body, right? This down here is not the body. Where I am, that's not the body. The body is just the stuff that's highlighted right now. If I was to click anywhere within the body, then it does stuff. Right? Now, I've said when somebody clicks on the body, I could get even more particular. I could have a bunch of different tags, right? And I know I'm zooming through this, and that's because we're going to do it in jQuery in a second, and that's what I really want you to focus on, is I could have maybe a bunch of different tags. So this is an H1 and an H2 and an H3. And we'll have one last one, which is going to be an H4. Right? And I might want to say in here that when somebody clicks on the H1 or the H2 or something, so document.query selector, find me maybe we'll do the H3. So that's the H3, and I can say, hey, when somebody clicks on the H3, that's what you should do. And now when I refresh this, I see that I've got all these different H's, right? H1, 2, 3, 4. If somebody clicks on the H4, nothing happens. But if somebody clicks on the H3, hello. Right? So when you start putting extra functionality into particular little bits, I can make stuff pop. I can take H3 dot, and I can maybe change the style. Right? So you can change the CSS. You can go h3.style. Let's see what it is. Just console log h3.style. Some weird CSS style declaration object. And what does it have inside of it? A bunch of empty strings. The empty strings are values. What are the properties? What are the keys? We're gonna, let's see if I find one that, what could the keys be? They're all CSS styles. Okay, they're all like CSS properties. So I might go, hey, find me the H3 and change the H3 style.color to red. Right? When you click on the H3, maybe change its color to red. And now, when I click on the H3, it turns red. Right? So I could do all kinds of crazy stuff with that. This is what I want you to focus on right now, is the fact that like I have a JavaScript file that's written somewhere, is being linked in to the HTML page, and I can use it to change stuff about the page. Yeah, as we're going to see with jQuery, we'll still write variables and functions. It'll just look slightly different. I want us to think about one thing here. What happens if I take this script and I put it up top? And then I refresh my page.
It'll run the script first, and then it'll print everything else out.
There we go. It'll run the script first. So if it runs my script first, why am I getting this error of cannot set property on click of null? Exactly. The H3 does not exist yet when the script has run, so it doesn't have anything to attach that thing to. Now, I want you to notice that the HTML is still going to display fine. Right? The browser is very forgiving. Even if you have an error, like, I don't even know I have an error. Look, everything looks fine. I need to actually go into the console to find out that there's a problem. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that our scripts are declared after all of the HTML that they depend on. Right? This is just something that you're going to have to kind of get used to. General good rule of thumb is list all your scripts at the bottom, right? Or when we're working with jQuery, you're going to see a strategy that we can use to make sure that the scripts only run after the page has loaded. Right? So I'm going to leave this little demo. And I'm going to go into making a new folder. I'm going to call this jQuery demos. Right? Heads up, I have like a couple different demos that I've already prepared that I will be giving you in the notes. Right? You can take a look at. One of them is actually set up so that it goes step by step and gets gradually a little bit more complicated. Right? And I encourage you to take a look at that. The way that I think I'm going to do today's demo is that I'm going to build it up as so I just wanted to make sure it was streaming, and it is. Cool. I'm going to build it up to be one slightly big project. Not gigantic, but like slightly bigger. And you can watch the video to see how it evolves, or then you can take a look at the demo that I built for another lecture and see that it'll use similar stuff to what I'm building right now. So in this jQuery demo, I still need a file called index.html. And it's going to start off as your typical HTML file. I'm going to do exactly the same situation as what we had before. Right? Exactly the same situation as we had before, which is a hey yo, what up? Right? And then what I'm going to do here is I'm actually going to link in a thing called jQuery, which you've already started playing with. So copy the path. You see that running there. And to get jQuery, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the jQuery CDN. What does CDN stand for? Has anybody seen those letters before? Yeah, Content Delivery Network, right? Which means it'll give me a link. It'll give me a link that I can use to download jQuery and include it in my page. This is the code for jQuery. What do you recognize about it? It's JavaScript. jQuery is just JavaScript. Right? If you took the time, you could learn exactly how jQuery is built up. I mean, technically, it's not even super big. Right? Like you could explore inside of it and start learning how little parts of jQuery are built up. We're not going to do that today. But what I want you to see is that there's a bunch of JavaScript being written. Do I know what a tween is? No. But I could go find out. So jQuery is a JavaScript file. Somebody has made some JavaScript. And here, this is jQuery, but it's been compressed. So it's been squished so it doesn't have any extra spaces. Right? Some XML? Like the stuff in here. Again, we'd really have to dive into this and find out what's going on. But that's a little beyond the scope of what we're doing today. For us right now, jQuery is going to be some JavaScript file that, in the same way as how I included the other file before, I can include jQuery. I can go source, and instead of pointing it to a file that I have on my own machine, it's pointing somewhere on the internet. And I will find now that when I refresh my page, where'd you go? When I refresh my page, nothing happens. I check my console, there's no errors, but I actually have a thing called jQuery available now. I want to show you that if I don't have this line of code, when I type out jQuery, I get an error. When I do the $, this still works, but notice it doesn't say jQuery here. Right? So $, still worked, but it shows me something that it's going to be different than when we have jQuery actually included. When I have jQuery in here, and I refresh this, the word jQuery is defined, and $, actually says the exact same thing as jQuery. The word jQuery and the $, are the exact same thing. Anywhere where you see $, in some jQuery code, you could replace it with the word jQuery, and it's all good. Right? It's just that people don't like having to write out jQuery every time, so they shorten it to just $. Right? Fun fact, you can do that with stuff. You can go const underscore equals, and now underscore is a variable. Right? Like there's some symbols that you can use as variable names, right? Or function names. And what jQuery is it is a function. Oops, where'd you go? It is a function, right? Primarily. I don't know what happened there, but it is primarily a function, meaning that I can call jQuery and go jQuery. Now, before we do anything in here, I want us to go somewhere where jQuery is already loaded up as well, which is Wikipedia. Part of why I really like Wikipedia for lectures is since jQuery is already loaded up, I can make some really quick lines of jQuery code to show you how powerful this is. First thing that I might do is say, oh look, every one of these, we'll go to dogs. Every one of these like H2s here, I want to change all of those H2s. Maybe the first thing is I want to get all those H2s. With jQuery, instead of going document.querySelector, right, jQuery gives us a helper function where we get to write all that stuff out as $H2. And this means get me all of the H2s. Get me all the H2s. And I got back all the H2s. What I do want you to see, though, is that this is slightly different than the result that we get back from the document query selector. Query selector all H2. I still get 16 results. But this here is a node list when I do the query selector. And this here is like a jQuery collection. Right? There is going to be a slight difference between querying things using the query selector or querying things using jQuery. jQuery is going to return to me objects that are beefed up. They have extra functionality built into them. Specifically, I'm going to call them jQuery objects. Right? So instead of returning me DOM nodes, it'll return to me DOM nodes that are wrapped in jQuery. And we'll see what that really means. For example, when I wanted to change all of the document, all of the H2s, I had to write a for each, right, in the first half of the lecture. When I use jQuery, I'll be able to literally just say h2 dot, and then I can change the HTML to ast in a single line. A single line. And I will find now that all of the H2s have had the stuff changed. One line. Say I want to say, oh, for the p tags, change their HTML to that. Every single p tag on the page with this here has been changed to being that. Right? So I want you to understand that the power of jQuery comes in being able to select select tons of stuff with a simple syntax, and to manipulate the DOM with these helper functions easily. Right? I'll be able to just declare that for p tags, the HTML should be this. Right? I don't want you to memorize this. I just want you to know that that's the point of jQuery. So as you're working with jQuery, if you find yourself writing really complicated code, think, if I'm manipulating the DOM, right, am I using jQuery the way it was meant to be used? Right? That's where a lot of people might find difficulty with a new language or framework, is when you're trying to use a thing in some way that you might have used some other tool. Right? This is a new tool with different opinions. And specifically, it's going to be built around the selector and being able to do stuff once you've selected stuff. So it's use a big finger to go grab things and then do stuff to them. For example, say I wanted to change the color of every one of my p tags. I'm going to Google how to change color jQuery. How do you change the text color with jQuery? The CSS method. There's all these different ones. I'm going to pick this one here, W3 schools. You can pick any one. It doesn't really make a difference. But I will find that apparently there's a thing that goes .css on a selector, and I can change the CSS by saying CSS property and CSS value. So I might want to say, legit, change all of the p tags to have the color red. CSS color red. And now all of my p tags have the color red. And you see the power of jQuery? And I'm stating things. I'm not saying make a loop. Right? I'm not saying that. I'm saying select all the p tags and set their CSS to the color red. And I might go select all the images, right, and set all their source attribute. So if I Googled how do I change an attribute in CSS, I'd find out that there's a method called attr that lets me change the source attribute to being whatever I want. And now with one line of code, I've broken every one of the images. Right? All of the images are broken now because I've changed the source attribute, because every image has a source, to being some random text. Right? jQuery is powerful, super, super powerful. We're going to use jQuery in my little demo. Right? Before I do that, are there any questions about what I just did? Not necessarily from a syntax point of view, but from a concept. Yes? Well, you can target any HTML element and then change its CSS properties. So jQuery is being used to find HTML elements. And I can find HTML elements by using a selector. So I might say, find me all of the span tags. Right? Find me all of the spans. Or find me all of the span tags that are inside of a list item. It happens to be a couple. Find me all of the A tags with a particular ID. And so you're going to have to practice your selectors a little bit, but it'll generally come around in the form of, you ask yourself, I want a certain set of stuff. You figure out what the selector is, and then you say what you want to do to it. And yep. I'm always going to, if I want to change stuff, I'm always going to need to target something. Now, I could do this in multiple lines. Like I could go const h2s is all of the h2s, right? And then I might go h2s dot HTML and change the values of all my h2s, right? So I might do that in multiple lines. Like that's totally fine. but I'll need to be calling this stuff on something that's been selected.
So if you want to change CSS, you target the HTML first.
Exactly. Yeah, you'll have to target the HTML and then change the CSS for that node. Yeah, that's exactly it. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna build this page up a little bit. Hey yo, what up? And we'll just paste some more code. And I'm also ultimately gonna have my script. No, my script, which is gonna be script.js, and I'll actually make script.js here. Now, say that I wanted to, again, change all of my H1s just to make sure that things are working. I want to change all of my H1s here to being this text here. I'm going to refresh the particular page that I was working on, which is this one, and it works. So I know that jQuery is hooked up properly. I want us to think about what would happen if I took my script and I ran it before importing jQuery. What would happen? Yeah, $sign is not defined. Okay, cool. So I need to have this happen after jQuery. And as well, if we had this happening up. So for example, a lot of people like having these scripts up in the head tags. Right? People just like putting all the scripts up here for some reason. They like compartmentalizing that stuff up there. So nothing's happening. It doesn't even give me an error. It's just that my script isn't doing the thing that I thought it would do. And I could throw some console logs in here. And I'd find that it is running. It's just not changing my H1s. And the reason for that is that jQuery is brought in. I'm just not finding any H1s to do stuff with. So there's no H1s to change because the H1s haven't loaded yet. So a very common pattern in jQuery is to say, put the scripts up at the top and then wrap your code by saying something to the tune of this. Whoops. Man, Travis's keyboard is annoying. Why, Travis? Why? Yeah, thanks for lending me the laptop. I might say something like this, which says, this is shorthand for saying when jQuery, or rather when the document loads, then do all this stuff. So it's odd, but I have to just kind of wrap all of my stuff in this weird function call. And now when I take a look at this, it works properly. So if I'm not wrapped in this, when I put my code up at the top, it won't work properly. But as long as I wrap it, then it's all good. This is short for something like, I think it's like document.on like ready, something like that. Say when the document is ready. But it's just so long to write that we can shorten it to that. So all of my code that I'm writing for jQuery today is going to happen within these things here.
Is there some way to do like a require like in here so you don't have to like you require jQuery?
So in here, no. When we're talking about regular front-end JavaScript, the way that like in the style that we're doing right now, there's no such thing as requiring. You can load up as many scripts as you want, right? And then all your scripts will have access to the stuff that was declared before it. Right? So here I'm declaring jQuery, so then this script here is technically like it knows about jQuery. If you wanted to use the require style that you've learned in Node, we'd have to use a program that takes the code that you write in that style and then transforms it into this style. Usually called like a bundler. Right? Not this bundler here, but like it's usually like the word bundler or there was a thing called Browserify, which was very popular, that lets you use require in the browser. Right? So the question you asked is very, very popular, right? Because as soon as somebody sees how requiring works, they're like, well, why can't we do this on the front end? So they had to build extra tools to do that. You're not going to be doing that necessarily in jQuery with your Tweeter project. But as you go forward, you will be using modules just in a slightly different way. OK, now what I want to build, and I'm going to set myself a little goal here, is I want to build, let's say, two things. The first thing that I want to build is a button that generates random cat pictures. That's the first thing that I want to make. A button where every time I click it, it gives me a new picture of a cat. And then we're going to make another one, another button to roll a D20 dice, a D20 die. Does anybody here play Dungeons and Dragons? No? Yeah? Nice. All right. So a D20. What? Oh, they have. What? I did not know that. Easy. All right.
Whenever you lose your D20.
I did not know. This is pretty funny that like Google put that in there. But yeah, so we're gonna build something like this.
It's honestly probably some employee that kept putting his dice.
Yeah.
Here you go.
Oh, what? You could just and roll all of them? Oh, that is so cool. Oh, this is so much better than anything I'm gonna build. Oh, I shouldn't have shown you. Oh no. All right, we're literally just gonna do one D20, but we're trying to build this. Oh, this is too cool. Oh, all right. So we're making this kind of situation, and a D20 is a 20-sided die. So we'll do the first button, the button that generates random cat pictures. I'm going to need a couple things. First of all, when you click the button, right, then fetch a random cat picture. I might make my goal a little bit smaller, and I might say when you click a button, or when you click the button, print out a message. And you're going to do this in steps. So I can go ahead and I can take a look at my HTML. There is no button at the moment. So I'm going to make one. Button. Click me for cat. And now I want to maybe identify this particular button. I might go ID cat button. Right? Do I need to put the ID in there? No. Like, as long as you can figure out some way of selecting that button, then you're good. But an ID is an easy way for me then to be able to go, okay, cat button. And I can now select my cat button. I might even console log this just to see if I'm actually getting, I'm actually getting the cat button properly. So when I go back to my page, what is it? The thing that gets console logged looks like it's that cat button. And I want to say something like, when somebody clicks this cat button. So maybe I'll save this as button. How do I say when somebody clicks this button? Button dot, and then you can go on, and I can say when somebody clicks. This is going to look similar to, what's that? Use? Like app.use? Yeah, no, exactly. I was going to say that. Like, it's very similar to writing your routes or your middleware in Express, right? Because we're attaching a listener. We're saying, not right now, but when somebody clicks. When somebody clicks the button, here is boop, and boop. All right. Here is what you should do when somebody clicks. For example, when somebody clicks console.log meow. And now I'm going to find that when somebody clicks on the button, I get meow printed out. Right? I can do all kinds of stuff here. I can say when somebody clicks, I want to add a new image to the screen. So I might go const new image equals, and now I want to create an image. How do we create an image in client-side JavaScript? Well, we could go document.create element. That's how we did it with regular client-side JavaScript. With jQuery, however, right, jQuery is going to give us a nice little helper. So the syntax for finding something with jQuery, like finding an image, is going to be like this. That's the syntax for finding an image. The syntax for creating an image is this. So jQuery gives me a nice little helper to create any element that I want. Now this has created an image. Does the image exist on the page? No, it's in memory. I will then need to take this image and add it to the page. But this is kind of like having something ready that then I can add. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, make a new image. Make a new image. I can even do things like add the classes and stuff to it. But we're going to not do that right now. So make a new image. Then I'm going to say new image dot, and then the source is going to be some cat picture. Right? I don't have a cat picture right now, but it's just going to be this empty, like this broken URL. And then maybe what I want to do is take the body of my HTML document and add this cat, add this new image. So append new image. Now, I have not linked this to an actual cat yet. I'm just making a new image just element, and I'm adding it to the page. And what I'm going to find now is that when I click this, every time I click, I get a new broken cat. Right? Every time I click, I get a new broken cat. And I could go to place kitten. Actually, you know what we're going to do? We're going to make this a little kind of grim. We're going to go to this cat does not exist. And we're going to make we're going to make the cat image come from this cat does not exist. So now every time we click, we get a new fake kitten. And when I click, I get a new. Oh, it looks like it just gives us the same one every time because it's like cached. Oh, that's not fun. But I guess if we refresh, then we get a different cat. Yeah, so I'm like refreshing, but there's this API called placeKitten, which gives me, when I give it a link, where'd you go? There you go. When I give it placeKitten with particular dimensions, like 200 by 300, it gives me a new, a new 200 by 300 kitten every time. The thing is, it probably only has one kitten that's 200 by 300. So what I can do is maybe pick a random number. So I might do const height and const width might both be math.random between, so not between 0 and 1, but how do you do random integer in JavaScript? There's this function that somebody at Mozilla made for getRandomInt to return a number between 0, between 0 and whatever your maximum is. So I'm just going to say that that's my function. I'll just put it down here. function get random int that I can use anytime. And my height is going to be get a random integer between 0 and, we'll say, 150 for both the height and the width. So height and width. And now what I have is every time I refresh this page, or rather every time I click this button, I should get a new kitten. That's like a different dimension. Okay. So that's, I mean, some of these are, you know, if I set the minimum to something, good. But now I get a new kitten every time. Right? Oh. Yeah, little kitten. So the thing that I really want you to get from this is surprisingly little amount of JavaScript. Right? Very little. And most of this is, this one here was a line of code that was just to show you that I can make a new image. This thing here I could write as one line. Right? And the nice thing about this is, like, it says what it does. It says when you click the button. Right? This here, you'll learn to understand that this says make a new image, and then append that new image to the body. Right? You can really translate like the steps that you want to say out loud to code. Right? It's going to take a while, right? But what I also want you to see is that I did a lot of work over in the console. Like, I brought myself over to the console and I just tried things out. And don't get frustrated when you get errors. Right? You're just going to have to get used to the fact that it takes a little bit of fiddling around until you're comfortable with what you're trying to locate, what you're trying to do, and then I move that over to a script. Does that workflow make sense? Did you have a question?
Yeah, so when you create a new image, you didn't have to create a closing tag.
No.
Maybe because it's an image, or like, did you create like a new, say, creating a new H2?
Mm-hmm.
So
So the
she's just writing HTML.
So the question for Calgary is that when I made this new image, I didn't have to write like a closing tag. This is just shorthand. Like, I can do this. That works fine. Right? If I do this, we're gonna find that my code like still works perfectly fine. Right? So it works. It's just that like jQuery gives you this shorthand where you just get to say the name of the tag and put angle brackets around it, and jQuery will interpret it as make a new image. Right? So I'm not exactly writing HTML here. Like, I was just saying image, make a new tag of those. Something that you can do is like you can straight up write HTML in here. If I went like class whatever, like you can do straight up HTML in here, and you'll find that the images that get generated are going to have like the particular class that you asked for, like that. I would personally stay away from writing out HTML directly like this. Personal preference, I just don't like doing that. It feels gross. Like, it feels like I'm manipulating something that isn't supposed to work. But some people do it, and like it works fine. There are HTML elements that don't require closing tags, but this isn't kind of that situation. What I'm doing here is I'm saying make a new image. Make a new p tag. I could do that too. And in fact, maybe that's what we'll do in a second now with the D20 example. So I wanted to show you like the next thing that I could do in here is maybe have another button. I'll do this within a div. I'm just going to call this div class die. We'll call it D20. Yeah, it sounds less aggressive. We're going to have a p tag. It says roll. And then we might have an image. We're going to have an image. No. We'll make this an H2, actually, that says roll. And then a p tag that says ... And underneath it, I might have a button. And this button, I'm I'm going to give it the ID role, maybe. I could even not have this. I'll show you it without the ID, actually, to make this a little bit more interesting. And it's going to say role. So right now, not a lot of interesting stuff happening HTML-wise. There's an H2 that says role, there's 3 dots, and then there's a button. And the button doesn't do anything yet. What I want to say is, when you click on that button, it should roll. Right? So I can say, like I said, when you click on the button for the D20, right? Choose a random number between 1 and 20. How do I say this first part, when you click on the button for the D20? If I was to take a look at my HTML, what selector am I going to have to write to identify this button? Class D20, so that gets me the div. Right? So I could play around with that in here. If I go jQuery, and then you said class D20, right? What I have right now is the entire, dot D20. Okay, did not know that that would break it. That's cool. D20. What I have right now is the entire div. But if I would just want the button, what do I do? So a button like that. So this says, get me the button inside of the D20 div. So now I've got the button. What I'm going to say here then from my jQuery is, when you click on the button inside of the D20, and I can say on click, just like I set up here, but there's also shorthand, dot click. Dot click. And that's going to let me do exactly the same thing. It's just short for that. You're going to find with jQuery there's like a lot of shorthand. I'm going to say that when you click on the thing, we're going to pick a random number, right? So you're going to say const number equals get random integer between, and we'll change this to say between 1 and 1 and maximum minus 1. So this is going to give us a number between 1 and 20. No, why did I do that? There you go, 1 and 20. Yep. And we'll console.log that number right now. Right. So I'm getting numbers between 1 and 20 every time. And natural 20. It only took a bunch of rolls. And what I want to do now is change this text to show the number. So I'm going to have to add an extra little bit here, which says, now that I have the number, change the p tag. Was it a p tag? Yeah, change the p tag to show the number. Change the p tag to show the number. So I'm going to go and I'm going to say maybe p, because there's only one p on this page. But the nicer thing to do would be go D20 and then p. Change the text to that number. And now every time that I refresh or click, I get a new number being printed on here. Right? Which is neat. That's cool. Is there anything that's particularly confusing about what I wrote in these lines? But it's some cool functionality that you can do with very, very few lines of code with jQuery. What I want you to see is if I make multiple D20s, We'll have 3 of them. I have 3 D20s. So I just copied the HTML over and over again, meaning I have roll, roll, and roll. What happens when I click on roll for one of them? They're all going to change. Right? So all of the buttons have been attached a listener that says when the button is clicked, it's going to change all of the p tags. All of the p tags. What's interesting is if I threw a console log in here for the number, right? Oh, that's not what I expected. I guess I expected there to be 3 console logs getting printed out, but it doesn't, which is neat. I guess jQuery just isolates it down to like, oh no, because I'm only clicking one button at a time. That makes sense. Only one button at a time. But what I might want to do is be able to say, when you click the button, don't change the p tag for all of them, but change the p tag that I'm related to. Right? That's going to be like monumentally important. I want to be able to say that this button here should change this p tag, and this button here should change this p tag. On the DOM tree, right, in the document object model, how are this button and this p tag related? They're in the same div, right? They're in the same div. Specifically, they have the same parent. What's another word that I might use for this? I might say that they're like siblings, right? And there is an actual function in jQuery that lets me access my siblings. Right? I'm gonna look up like siblings, jQuery. There is a siblings function. And what the siblings function does is when I look at a particular element, such as, let's say the D20 button, the very first D20 button, so I did 0, so I would only get one of them. If I go dot siblings, okay, no, oh, whew, not a thing I can do. Let me try one thing here. Okay, so when I do D20 button on its own, 0, what I get back is slightly different than if I did this. This thing here is not a jQuery object, it's a DOM object. And DOM objects don't have the siblings method. Right? They don't have the siblings method. They don't have all the things that jQuery gives you. Right? So in this case here, calling $D20 button returned a DOM element when I said get me the very first one. This here returns me like a jQuery object. Now, if I wanted to, I can take any DOM element, and I want you to see that I am like, I'm giving it like a jQuery hug. And I'm wrapping that thing that was just a DOM element. I'm giving it like a hug, and I turn it into a jQuery element. And what that's going to let me do is that a jQuery element has a siblings function. Right? You're going to need to get comfortable like through the assignments. This isn't going to be something that you'll get through this lecture. That through your assignments, you'll have to get comfortable with the idea of DOM elements and jQuery objects. Where DOM elements are these like vanilla thing that don't really let you do much with them. jQuery objects have extra functionality that's packed onto them. And so in this case here, I might say that I want to find all of the p tags for the particular button that is being clicked. Now, I really want you to understand the fact that the thing that I'm about to show you is not something that you're necessarily going to be doing for Tweeter. It's not something where like I want you to necessarily understand the code, right? At a high level, I want you to get what I'm doing, but the syntax is not going to make a ton of sense. The reason I say that is because I'm about to bring in the word this. And specifically, I'm going to say $this. Okay? Again, I don't want you to like understand this code. I just want you to see that when I go console.log $this, I'm going to comment out that stuff. Console.log $this. This prints out the button that was clicked. The particular button that was clicked, right? I'll leave it to you to explore the way that this particular thing works. Maybe Google $this jQuery, right? But for right now, I'm going to leave it at that. And I'm going to say, for this particular button that was clicked, look at its siblings. Specifically from the siblings, find me the p tag. And I'm going to right now just say console.log this little thing. $this.siblings p. In a phrase what this should mean, unless I got the syntax wrong, which we'll find out in a sec, is find me the p tag that is a sibling. And when I refresh this, when I console log, something gets printed out every time. And specifically what's getting printed out is the p tag that is a sibling, that is a sibling to the button that I clicked. So what I get to say now is maybe my p tag, take my p tag, dot, change its text to be the number. So now when I roll, I only roll for that particular d20. Cool? Again, I want to stress, this whole this thing is going to be confusing. I'm not going to go into it in this lecture. We've already gone like 8 minutes over. Right? I'm going to leave it here. And you have the option of kind of like exploring into what this means as you go forward. You will get maybe to a situation as you're working on Tweeter where you might find that this could be a solution to a particular problem that you're solving, right? When you get there, just call me up or call a mentor up, right? And we'll help you through that. Right? But this is, for this lecture, stretch. That's about everything that I wanted to show you today. Right? There are a couple other things that obviously jQuery can do. For example, if I was to go to, where's Travis's thing, compass? Oh, I woke you up. So if I was to go to, for example, today's stuff, I think one of the other things in here is working with forms. Am I wrong? Oh no, we don't have to work with forms. That was yesterday. Okay, cool. No, I did everything I wanted to do. Was this useful? Did you like learn a bit from this stuff? Oh, now, jQuery and client-side JavaScript are both giant topics. Like you can dive into both of them, like and do really interesting stuff with them. You're going to be learning about jQuery in kind of special ways over the next couple days. It's super cool, right? Client-side JavaScript, there is just a world of stuff that you can explore. For example, you can load up audio and play it and pause it and do all kinds of weird stuff that I didn't do today. Right? But I'll link you to an example that I made last year, which has like little Kanye heads, and you click on them and they like shout out. It's pretty fun. Yeah, are there questions? Neat. All right, get hyped. Just get client-side jQuery. Have a good time, and let me know if you have any questions. Feel free to just Slack me. Calgary, same goes to you. If you have any questions, I mean, you have mentors there, which is cool. But if you have questions about my demos, just Slack me, and I'll get to you. All right. Take care.